And so rooms like this, I can 100% envision my art living here in this room, right? Welcome, everyone. I want to talk to you a little bit about how I believe that one of the most powerful exercises that you can do as an artist when you are really developing your sense of style and figuring out exactly what direction you want your art style to go in is that you really want to think about and envision the type of room and the type of home where your art will live. So the title of this video is called Where Will Your Art Live? And I want to talk about it because I think a lot of times artists might have a vision for the kind of art that they want to make, but where they somewhat fall flat is envisioning who actually is going to buy their art and what type of environment should their art be living in. Honestly, one of my first loves was actually in home design. Now, I don't have an amazing home with really beautiful finishes and a luxury kitchen or any of those things, right? But I have always loved making my house look and feel like a home. And honestly, I started painting because I wanted art to hang on my walls. And this was many years ago when I didn't have a lot of money and I wanted to make a beautiful home. And therefore, I just began to start teaching myself how to paint. Of course, I had some art background, so it wasn't completely unheard of, but really, I have always loved thinking about and obsessing over home design. And I have a good appreciation for all different kinds of homes. But I think it's interesting because I feel like the art that I create is actually heavily tied to the type of home decor that I love and appreciate. So, another great exercise for all of you in figuring out your own style, sense of art style, is to think about the type of house or home where you would like to hang your art. And this also gives you really great direction for who to market to in terms of your ideal customer, right? And now we're not really talking about marketing in this course, but I do think that having an understanding while you're creating art is a good mindset to have in mind. Okay. I recommend, again, very similar to all of the different style elements, maybe creating a Pinterest board for where your art will live. What I just did was I actually have an older Pinterest board. It has a lot of pins in it, but I thought I would just share it with all of you. It's just called Home Inspiration. And perhaps you have already sort of thought through this, or you are like me and you obsess over homes. But I wanted to talk to you about it because, and I'll share the Pinterest board with you because I feel like my art tends to move in the direction of this type of a home. And I would describe it as a very collected and eclectic type of home that curates really sort of off the wall type of design elements with very rich, deep textures and also bright, happy colors. Okay. And so I thought I would share it with all of you. And I think it's interesting to sort of look at the range. There are a lot of really beautiful layered rooms, right? And I think it's interesting because I feel like I can envision my art in some of these spaces. But I just wanted to point out something like this photo of a room has a lot of unusual textures on the wall, correct? And so I am just going to walk you through some of them. That it seems like, really fun, usual wallpaper and just really bright spaces. There's a lot of really deep greens, right? And so rooms like this, I can 100% envision my art living here in this room. Right? So I just wanted to share some of these spaces with all of you, just because I think it gives you a good perspective of where is this artwork going to go, right? And a lot of these spaces have fun, funky furniture, right? Like colors. And I think it's interesting because a lot of the rooms that I have chosen in this space uses just lots of layered patterns. There's already a lot of graphic shapes and bold colors that I already use in my artwork being highlighted. So it's just really fun to kind of look at some of these different spaces. I think this one is interesting because it has like this really fun, funky mural on the wall. So anyways, if you're anything like me, you love this kind of stuff and you geek out on it, right? And so it's just really fun. And I think it's interesting because a lot of the style elements that I already use in my artwork seem to also appear on this style board, right? And the other cool thing about doing stuff like this is that you can almost really start to imagine how to actually go about styling your art. And I think that that's a skill that a lot of artists, especially when they're wanting to sell their work, that they sort of lose sight of. Oftentimes their Instagram feeds or their social media platforms only just show the square of the artwork that they've finished and created, when honestly, I feel like if a lot more artists focused on how to style their art, how to put together an eclectic picture wall and displayed their artwork in an actual room, that then the audience slash customer is going to actually be able to envision your artwork in their actual space. And so I have quite a few picture walls in this Pinterest board. So if I were to really evaluate a lot of these spaces, I would say that color is not necessarily over the top, but color is important to a lot of these rooms that I've chosen. Also, so is texture as well, right? With a good amount of pattern play happening, and also I would say there is definitely a feeling of vintage color palettes, right? Happening. Oops, I didn't mean to. But see, you can see from this wall, I didn't mean to click on this, but I could 100% see my artwork on this wall here. So I think it's just a really great exercise in terms of really looking at where would my artwork live, what type of home. And, obviously the Pinterest board that I created is really unique to me, right? There's a lot of vintage type of furniture, a lot of layers happening, which I appreciate, right? But if your style is, let's say, more of a, I don't know, what would I say? neutral modern abstracts, then the homes might be much more modern appearing, right? With a lot more minimalistic elements, maybe not a lot of color happening, right? And so I think that this is a fairly powerful exercise to just think through, and then also to go ahead and create a Pinterest style board based on your artwork and where you can envision your art actually hanging. Oh my gosh. See, like stuff like this, I feel like I could like geek out over it all day long. I mean, I love the way that this painting is just sitting on the buffet back here, and it's layered with all of these other different fun, colorful books and boxes, and with a really fun rug on the floor. And everything feels very collected and eclectic. I just combined those two words together. But anyways, I think that this is just a really great exercise because, if you have maybe more of a traditional type of style in terms of art, such as maybe you do more traditional form with portraits, right? Then the style of home that you would maybe want to display your art in would be actually possibly a much more traditional type of style with traditional furniture, that type of thing. So having this idea sort of in the back of your head while you are developing your art style, I think is beneficial for most artists to just think through, even if it's just briefly and as something to sort of aim for in terms of your art style. So if you want to go ahead and create a Pinterest board surrounding where your art is going to live, and you want to go ahead and leave the links in the comments, I will go take a look and look at some of the rooms that you're sharing, and maybe I can give you a few pointers or tips on what direction you're wanting to go in your art style. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions at all and leave your Pinterest boards in the comments.